This is Elliot Serrano, finally coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois, joined by our regular co-host, Jose Melendez. I gotta say, looking at the boards, you were missed, man. You were missed.
Yeah.
Ryan Otley was not suitable replacement. Yeah,
he was too nice.
He was very nice. We got a lot of comments on the blog about how cool Ryan Otley is. But I did get one comment on my Facebook page, because I also post these videos on my Facebook page, and one of the viewers said that Ryan was boring. He should go sit in a corner.
Aww.
Oh, but just too bad, because I thought I liked Ryan. Ryan was really cool. And just so you know, Ryan actually, as I was walking through the convention center, Ryan actually approached me. He said, "Hey, Elliot, how you doing?" "Oh, you're," and I was like,
"Oh, that's pretty cool."
I almost walked right by him, not even realizing anything. So I was in a daze that day. Pretty much. But anyway, yes, we're back here in Dreamland Comics. I hope you enjoyed those the little diversions, a couple segments that I did in San Diego. I apologize for the sound quality. If you've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, it's just a din in there. It's really, really noisy.
Or if you ever had Elliot do the audio for your videos, that's what it sounds like.
Hey, unless you have like top-level pro equipment, which I don't have it. That's kind of the best I can do. So
we did just upgrade last year from the tin cans on the string.
Yes.
So
yes.
This is a big step up.
Although there were some the tin can and string gives you a sound that you can't duplicate.
This is true.
Anyway, and I hope you got a kick out of having the subtitles on John's video, because John just had a hard time projecting into the mic. Well, anyway, we're back in Dreamland.
Anyway, but before we move on, I want to thank John Layman and Rob Guillory, because they sent something back with Elliot, which was really damn fucking cool of them. The Chew number 12 San Diego exclusive cover, signed by John Layman and Rob Guillory. Yep. So thank you very much for that, guys. It is very Eisner Award-winning team.
The Eisner Award-winning team, yes. I told John afterwards, he's welcome. He's welcome.
And I can't wait to review the Eisner Award winner writer, John Layman's Bullseye one-shot next week.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be great. I cannot wait.
Yeah, John put a lot of hearts on his
yes, he did.
Signature for Jose. Because as we learned in the last segment, yes, John does have a crush on you, and also considers you extraordinarily handsome. Because you're the handsome one. You're the extraordinarily handsome one. Well,
that's not really saying much if you see what's sitting next to me. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, we never even reviewed this issue.
Yeah, issue number 12.
Yeah, we didn't review it. This was the Big Pollo issue.
The Big Pollo issue that we'd been looking forward to, yes.
And because your dumbass had dinner obligations, and then you had San Diego. We haven't taped for 3 weeks, and
here we are. Well, anyway, but it was a good issue.
It was a great issue.
Let's jump into something else, though, since there was we are a bit behind due to my absence. So, so we're not going to. We are going to talk about a Marvel book, but we wanted to hit a couple independents first. And the big book that came out right before I left was Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour, Volume 6, and the final volume of the Scott Pilgrim story, where Brian Lee O'Malley pretty much draws the whole Scott Pilgrim versus Ramona Flowers Evil X's, saga to a close. There was a lot of stuff there, dang. This was the interesting thing about the series, which I kind of lost sight of it as the story progressed. A lot of times when you read stories and you have something that you know is going to be a defined arc, you really want resolution. Mm-hmm. When you get to the end of a story, you want resolution. Jose and I kind of harp on that a lot, when it comes to Marvel events and stuff. We always want resolution. So when you look at Volume 6, where Brian Lee O'Malley has to resolve everything that's going on with these characters, he's got, of course, Scott Pilgrim having to deal with the fact that Ramona kind of leaves him at the end of Volume 5. There's the whole Envy Adams subplot.
Right.
There's Knives Chow. There is his roommate. There's his band. There's all this stuff going on that, you know, you would think with Volume 6, you kind of got to bring it to a close. You've got to resolve it, right?
Not only resolve stuff, but then throwing in new stuff, too.
Throwing new stuff. So kind of bringing it all together. I've got to say that for this being the final episode of the Scott Pilgrim story, the fact that, spoiler alert, you don't really get total resolution was kind of perfect for this. It was kind of perfect. Because, if anything, O'Malley shows that... Scott Pilgrim, he's like 25 years old. He's like in his 20s. These are kids that are in their 20s.
Right.
So it's not like everything that's going to happen in their life is defined in that period of their lives.
Right.
And he kind of sets them up again, as he did in the beginning of the whole series, to kind of like try again. You know, so while you might have thought, you know, some people will say, I got to have my happy ending. I got to know what happens next. I need to know, you know, how are things ultimately going to end up with Scott and Ramona. That wouldn't have fit. I don't think it would have fit with this story.
Yeah, and I didn't... No, the ending was fine. I kind of liked it. Well, it's exactly what you were saying. They're in their mid-20s, so, you know, it's... When you're in your mid-20s, yeah, everything feels... And just like when you're a teenager, everything feels so fucking important.
Right. I made a joke about this a long time ago. Yeah, when you're in your teens, everything that happens to you in your teens is going to be the most important thing that will ever happen to you. You know, and then the same thing goes on in your 20s, and it goes on again in your 30s, and your 40s, and so on.
And then, yeah, so when there is resolution between Scott and Knives Chow.
There's
resolution between Scott and his former bandmates.
Right.
So there's a lot of resolution, but the most important one was the relationship between him and Ramona. And that is a little, yeah, I mean, it does leave it open, but, I mean, they are together.
They're together, but even Ramona says, as they go off into infinity,
right.
In a wonderful, you know, like a wonderful closing scene. Ramona says, you know, in essence, she goes, I never stay. You know, I can't stay. It's never been my nature to stay. But Scott says, well, can we at least try? And she says, yeah,
maybe try again.
So I liked that. I liked that a lot. And again, it fleshed out the Envy Adams character. You also got to see a lot about the relationship between Envy, Scott, and Gideon. There is a...
Ramona.
I'm sorry. Well, Envy's also involved with Gideon.
Well, she is with Gideon, but I think
but
that
then
you're
Ramona
talking about
was involved with Gideon, too.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, there was a whole thing going on.
Ramona is, Gideon's ex-girlfriend, and Envy is now with Gideon.
Although, in a way, it's not the relationship that everyone thought it would be.
Right.
So then Envy comes out and has to come to terms with a lot of things, too.
All right. One other thing. This book did bug me a little bit. I did have some nitpicks about it. Obviously, everything that we just talked about was good. The fact that Scott Pilgrim in this volume. Now, I've read different things on different boards and different websites, not just comic websites, but just other like pop culture websites, about how, you know, on the surface of Scott Pilgrim, like when the trailer came out, you know, you always have people who don't know what they're talking about stuff. Right. So when you watch the trailer for Scott Pilgrim, and you get the gist of it, like, oh, you know, you have to fight your
seven
exes to win me.
Right.
So, you know, it's kind of like one of those things where people say, well, Ramona, you know, the story kind of makes it look like she's a possession to be had into one. But we all know that people who've read this, it's all fun. The story is very lighthearted. It's not like that at all. But I couldn't help but think of some of those things when I was reading this issue, reading this volume, because Scott makes out with Knight's Child. Scott makes out with Kim Pine. Scott is like all over these girls, and it's very just shallow.
Yeah, but it's portrayed that way too. And even when
I understand that, but
yeah.
but to me it was just like it's like he is so. And I get the whole thing when when you're trying to get over somebody,
right.
like his old roommate tells him, you just you need to sleep with somebody.
Yeah, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else, right?
Yeah, and so obviously he's trying to do that, and obviously he's kind of a dimwit sometimes, and it takes him forever to process things.
Right.
But on the surface of things, that just kind of bugged me. Is like he's just pushing himself on these girls, and I was just like, again, just a minor nitpick. It didn't really bother my overall feeling for the book. But that was just one of the things that I was conscious of as I was reading this.
Yeah, well, yeah. I know what you're saying, and if anything, the character of Scott Pilgrim isn't a paragon of virtue. So, I mean, we find that out as it goes.
And then, and then you get into the whole kind of like submissive, dominant relationship between Ramona
and Gideon.
Yeah. Which you really didn't think Ramona was somebody like that because of how what she has become since she's been with Gideon.
Right.
So seeing that was kind of like...
It was like a revelation, actually. Yeah. It was kind of cool. I've got to say, this is... I would call this, in terms of literary terms, this is the Deathly Hallows of comics. Like J.K. Rowling had to wrap up a lot of stuff in the Harry Potter books. Brian Lee O'Malley had to wrap up a lot of stuff with... Volume 6, and the great part is too, it's not like Scott Pilgrim can never come back. I mean, there's no reason why these characters, we can't revisit these characters again at some point.
Yeah.
And it would be fun to see that. Just like there are a lot of characters in comics that independent creators, like I've been waiting for Matt Wagner.
Just don't pull a Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Yeah.
Please, Brian.
No, make it a story that you really, really believe in, and like this has been. So this, to me, I got to say, has been probably the most perfect, most complete story that I've read. Of this, I call it the most perfect hexology in comics right now. I don't know many other hexologies. Period. Outside of Star Wars movies, but it's not.
Prequels don't count.
Prequels don't count. All right. So we'll end this segment on that. When we come back, we do have a couple other books to look at, and we definitely have a rant that you will be interested in. Hope to see you then.